Welcome in to the Meet the Candidates night for 2016. Thank you all for coming. Welcome to the candidates, and thank you to our local sponsors, GCI, Seward High School, the City of Seward, and the Seward Chamber of Commerce. Tonight, this broadcast will be on radio channel 91.7 KIBH, and also be audio streamed live to the Seward Public Radio Facebook page. Questions will be asked from the public through me, the moderator. We'll also be able to receive questions via telephone if anybody calls in to 224-4044. For people in the audience, there's pens and paper to write your questions for the candidates. Hold it up when you're done, and a high school student will pick it up and deliver it to me. First, we'll start. It's an hour and a half until about 7:30. First, we'll start with our introductions. There are 5 candidates here tonight. Each will have 3 minutes to do an introduction. Our timer here will show you when there's 1 minute left, 30 seconds left, and when your time is up. After the introductory period, we'll have time for questions. Every question, each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer. And again, your timer here. And then if there's time, we'll have questions from candidates to other candidates. All right, so we can begin with our introductions with Mr. Butts on the end.
Okay, my name is Dale Butts. I've been in the city of Seward since 1989, just after the oil spill. I've served with the fire department since 1990. I've been also worked with the ambulance corps here in Seward. I can't even tell you how many years that was. I've also worked on the Planning and Zoning Commission, and then now I've been on the City Council for, this is my 3rd year on the City Council. I kind of worked it myself there too, into the position I'm in, because what I wanted to do was be able to make some type of change. And so I feel I have been making some types of changes as we go along there too. And planning and zoning, we were able to work some things up there too, and move them on to the city council. And I really was impressed at how we could do that and work really well with the Planning and Zoning Commission. And now as a city councilman, I feel we really, really have a good city council. The way that we have right now, we work together. Yeah, we argue. Yes, we have differences of opinion, but yet we respect each other. We have some good relationships with where we're at right now too. I feel that where I want Seward to go to, I am a big proponent of the foundation. I think that everything should have a good, solid foundation. Seward is a great town. I've lived here for a long time. My family's lived here a long time. I think that as we grow and as we move, we can't depend on one sole source of income, whether it's tourism or the state or anything else like this there too, that as we start to diversify our port, diversify different other things that we have there too in Seward, I think that's where we're going to have to grow for this. I was just looking today too, we still have tourists in town. It's still great to see the people still mingling around town here even mid-September, and I really like that. But we can't always count on that. And so some of the things that I firmly believe in is our port. I believe our port should be expanded. And I believe that's one thing that we're going to start to have some types of incomes. We're on our way there. We're getting there. We are expanding our boat harbor. And so I think that's some of the things we have to look at too. That's all I've got.
All right. Ms. Kyle?
Do we need to use those?
Well, for the mics, picking them up okay?
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay.
All right. So I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event. It's always a good event of the year. For those who don't know me, my name's Mariana Kyle, and I've lived for 27 years with my husband that nobody ever sees, and we raise our 2 daughters here. I currently work as a legislative information officer, and I did also work as a domestic violence sexual assault coordinator for 8 years and served on the domestic violence committee for 11 years before that. I believe in public service and giving back to the community. It started basically when I was 10 years old. I watched my mother giving a speech in front of a packed audience. She was running for school board against a long-term board member. She lost, but I was so proud and inspired by her. Being on council isn't about one issue or prestige. It's about a multitude of complex issues. It's a balancing act between quality of life and progress, dreams and fiscal realities. And it's a balancing mandatory services and discretionary services. It's about compromise and finding solutions. So I'm just asking that you consider me for council again, and I'd like to serve the community in the best way I can. Thanks.
All right. Ms. Casagrande?
Thank you. My name is Rissy Casagrande. I was born here in Seward and grew up in the winters attending school in Palmer, and I had the privilege of coming back here to Seward every summer growing up. When I graduated from high school, I made my way here, attended 3 years of college, studying accounting. When I felt unfulfilled with college, I decided to go travel the world. I traveled Southeast Asia, Nepal, India, Mexico, Canada, US, lots of parts of the world, saw a lot of things, and found myself back here in the intimate, beautiful community of Seward. And this is definitely my whole life where I have been attracted to and called home. I'm the mother of 3 beautiful children, 2 of which have made it here tonight, so thank you. Selma, Gaia, and Ryder, who are 7, 12, and 14 years old. I operate 3 businesses and manage 2 additional businesses. I do property management and sales. I also manage nightly property managements with the full-service concierge business, so I'm pretty thick into the tourism industry. I am running for my 4th term of city council, and I'm running because I'm passionate about Seward.
Thank you. Ms. Towsley?
I'm Susie Towsley. I've been in Alaska since I was 4 and chose to be in Seward for about 15, 16 years now. I am the single mother of 3 amazing boys, 19, 16, and 9. They just had birthdays, so I have to... and none of them made it here tonight. But my work history here has been being a mom. Originally, my first job here was working on the Head Start bus when we had a Head Start years ago. And I volunteered with a number of organizations, including Little League, everything from Little League to fire departments, and ended up working at Bear Creek Fire Department outside city limits, working for the Kenai Peninsula Borough through that end of the government. And then worked the last 7 years, well, 6 of the last 7 years, at City Hall in the city manager's office. So I have knowledge of how City Hall operates on some levels. I stopped working there about a year ago and took a break from everything kind of public related and took a step back and reassessed where I wanted to be. And decided I wanted to be here and do the best job that I could to help this community that I love to move forward. And that's why I'm running for council. I was approached by friends and neighbors with the idea of where we want this town to be headed in the future and the town that we want to be. And that's the platform I'm running on.
Thank you. Mr. Slater?
Hi, everyone. I'm Eric Slater. A little bit about me if you don't know who I am. I moved to Alaska in 1996 from Spokane, Washington, and after living in several parts of the state, including Girdwood, Anchorage, Juneau, and even out in Squitna, I moved to Seward in 2000 to work as a cook at Ray's Water Plant, and I fell in love with this place. I was the executive chef at the Seward Winsong Lodge from 2004 to 2014, and after 10 years, my dream to open a restaurant realized with my wife, Hillary. We purchased the Seward Brewing Company, and after almost moving to Juneau to actually do a restaurant there. But the reason why we stayed is because we love this community a lot, and that's why we did it here. I'm the father of a 12-year-old Seward middle schooler who at the age of 9 already outcooked me by winning Michelle Obama's Healthy Lunchtime Challenge in 2016 and represented Seward and the state of Alaska at the White House, and I'm very proud of it. As a chef, I consider myself an advocate of Alaska seafood, Alaska produce, and our friends and neighbors who make all of that happen. Without them, I would be a terrible chef. I've served on the Avtec Culinary Academy Advisory Board since 2004. I work with Alaska Seafood Marketing Institute, serving on their chef council, traveling all through Alaska, the lower 48, promoting Alaska seafood and the seafood industry. My goal as a council member is to be more involved in the community and to give a voice to those who feel they are not being heard. I felt it was time to step up. No more firing off angry emails, no more debates or in the comment section of Seward City News. It was time to do something. So I'm not a politician. I want to continue my experience as an advocate and to represent Seward in the best of my abilities. I'm looking to help move Seward forward and to evolve and grow and shape this town for the future. Hopefully inspiring a younger generation to get involved in government and change and show them change happens at a local level. How I see that happening in Seward is by a transparent and collaborative effort involving city officials and the community, and as a council member, I hope I can make that happen.
Thank you. So I will now go into the question portion of the evening. I'll start by asking questions with Mr. Butts and go this way, and then the second question, I'll go from Mr. Slater back across so that we each have an opportunity to start. So the first question of the evening, being on the council is you have 2 minutes per question. Being on the council is a very serious obligation. Do you fully intend to attend all of the scheduled meetings and work sessions?
I've since being on the city council for, like I say, I was appointed for 1 year and I was elected for 2 years. Yes, I have missed meetings, and understandably, I realize that some of those meetings I should have really been there, but sometimes I have some obligations. I'm a mariner, and sometimes I'm away, and sometimes I'm on a vessel, sometimes I'm away for work and different things like this, but I fully intend on attending every city council meeting I can, because after missing the first one, I had another city councilman tell me very bluntly, you need to be here at every meeting. And then since then, I've tried my best to attend, because I don't ever want to have that person look at me like that again and tell me you need to be at every meeting. That's all I got.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Kyle.
Let me see. I think this year I've missed one, but that was when I was back in Washington, D.C. Lobbying for the Seward, so I count that as actually being a good thing. I think pretty much I've made most of all the meetings. There was 1 year when my mom passed away and I was gone, but let me see. And I do make the work sessions. I think work sessions are really important for people to attend, because a lot of nuts and bolts and lots of questions get asked at that particular time. Let me see. I think that's about it. So, yeah, I also schedule my vacations around council meetings. So, I mean, I was gone for 10 days to Montana, and I scheduled it the day after to go and come back the day before. I also did that when we just took a small vacation with my daughters.
All right. Ms. Casagrande?
I, too, do my very best to attend all council meetings and work sessions, and if elected, I would commit to attending all council meetings and work sessions. And on that note, I would actually like to see more work sessions, because work sessions are so important. They're when the community can speak, when council and community can have a back and forth. So as a council member, I would like to see more work sessions, and yes, I would attend those.
Okay. Thank you. Ms. Townsend?
I do plan to be, if elected, at all of the meetings if possible. I mean, life happens, but it is a big responsibility, and I recognize the seriousness of taking on that role. And so, yes, I would plan to be at all the council meetings.
Understood. Mr. Slater?
I'm at a place now in my business where 3 years into it, I can take time off during the summer months, during the tourism season, be there for the meetings, absolutely. And since we're seasonal, I have nothing going on in the wintertime. And that's part of another reason why I decided that I had time to commit to this. It was time for me to do it. So.
All right. Thank you. So moving on to the second question, starting with Mr. Slater. In which ways can the city support business development?
Tough one.
Sorry.
I think working closer with the Chamber of Commerce to help out a lot more is a good way to go. Promoting Seward as a whole, letting the small business guys get in there a little bit more, and grow. There's been a lot of new businesses happening here in Seward. I'm glad to see it and supporting. I think we need to continue that. But I think those two things we could work on that.
All right, thank you. Ms. Towsley?
I feel like after having worked at the city for 6 years, that the city could work in cooperation with a number of entities in town to streamline the process for people to get up and running. We can look forward, and the new comprehensive plan that we're planning, coding can help to be brought into streamlined process so that it makes sense that the coding rules are all compliant with what's going on, like on the streets where people want to start a business on 2nd Avenue, for instance. We have people who want to start businesses, invest here, and be here, and they need to have positive experiences when they go into city offices and ask what that process entails. And I think that we could step that up and streamline everything, make it more efficient, fostering new businesses by working in cooperation with entities that already exist.
All right, thank you. Ms. Casagrande?
I feel so fortunate that I'm in the middle.
Maybe I'll start with you one time. So
Okay, I was going to say, this makes it really easy.
So, just echoing everything that the first two candidates had said, and also being a business owner and developer, a lot of our, you can go into a business and think it's going to cost X amount of dollars to maybe develop some land or open a business, and you get into a building, and then all of a sudden you're building and developing to commercial codes. And years back, we decided to adopt a book this thick that pertains to the whole entire international code, and I know I'm going to catch a lot of fire on this one, but we're a really unique economy, and I don't know that having building codes and code that fit the entire country is okay for our community. And so I would think that just really looking at what we adopt for code, making it easier for people to take these abandoned buildings, make them something beautiful without breaking them. And also looking at our utility. Right now, small business is the highest rate payer, and they're really supporting our electric utility in so many ways. We started this, do you have a 30-minute card?
30 seconds.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Second.
That one, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Anyways, we are trying a new system of seasonal rates, and I'm curious to see if really that's just burdening the small business even more, which I think it is. And then also, when you pay your borough taxes, you get a really sweet, loving discount for being on time, and our city doesn't offer anything like that. That's my suggestions.
Thank you. Ms. Scott?
Yeah, and I agree with Ms. Housley about streamlining. It's always good to streamline processes where it makes it easier for people to be able to do business. I think that we've worked a lot on infrastructure right now, and having we're going to have better paved roads here soon, so people will want to come here more. We have stable electrical generation, which a lot of places, if the power goes out, you're out of luck. But we get power back on probably in about an hour. We have good medical facilities and I'm not talking about these as good things for business too, because you bring people here, you keep people here, you have a good quality of life for people. So, and I do think that we have to keep looking at the electrical rates. Sometimes it seems like they get out of hand, and I think as a council, we always have to judge, backing up our infrastructure, which is important, or continue to raise rates. So yeah, I'm all willing to look at that.
Well, it's a really good question, because we have this really unique, like Mariana was saying, we have this very unique thing that we have here. We have, inside of the city limits, we have a lot of businesses and all of these things that are used by people not in the city of Seward that live outside of the city. So we have to not only incentivize people, of having businesses inside of town but outside of town. And I'm not going to use, but there's something that maybe we need to do to look at this. Maybe it's inside of town, outside of town. We have service areas for fire. We have service areas for flood. Things like this. Maybe if we had a service area for necessary services within the Seward area, not just within the city, not just out of town, something else like this, we can bring this together. We've lost so many things here in Seward over the last bunch of years here since I've been here. Bowling alley, we've lost our theater, we've lost all these things that we have as families and as people for stuff to do. So it's one thing that has racked my brain. I've been trying to figure out how we can incentivize a group of people to come here to Seward to build a business. What can the city do? What can we as citizens do? What can happen there to get these people to come down here and actually start a business, or to find someone local that can have the plans and everything put together where someone local can then start up a new business and then get a new service here in town. I really, really hope that we can work something out like that. So if you guys have ideas, please bring those to the city council. Bring these to our, like she said, to our work sessions, things like this. The comprehensive plan was a huge thing, letting us know too that, hey, this is something that where I see where Seward's going. And I think this is a really big kind of area that we have to work towards.
Thank you. Thinking about it, I think Ms. Casagrande is correct, and we should start each person going down. So the next person to start would be Ms. Kyle, and then Ms. Casagrande, et cetera, going that way.
Thanks, Rissy.
And also, I want to take some time to thank Helena Bacchus, Elena Hamner, and Tasha Murphy, our high school helpers here. Also, the Seward Chamber of Commerce for helping with this event. The phone number, again, for questions is 224-4044 for anybody listening online. Or there's pens and papers in the back, and you can hold up a question, and I think Elena will come over and grab it from you. Okay, on to the next question. For Ms. Kyle, in what ways can the city support housing development?
That's really tough because we've been trying to, encourage housing, more housing all the time. But one of my thoughts was going to micro housing, because a lot of people no longer want the big Taj Mahal houses. They would like to have smaller houses. But we also need to have property to be able to do that, So looking at people that own large tracts of land, because we do have some landowners here that do own lots of property, but they're not developing it, and if we can encourage them, give them incentives to do more more housing starts. Let me see, what else? I was just trying to, like I said, we've been working on it for a long time, and if it was really profitable, people would be building, apartment buildings and things like that. So I don't know how we would incentivize that to be able to get people to, actually invest in building apartment buildings or houses. So it's a tough one.
Thank you. Ms. Casagrande?
I love this question. Being in real estate, you guys want to know how you can have more things to sell. So the first solution I would see is just like Councilmember Kyle had mentioned, of making it affordable for these land developers to be able to hook into our utility. Right now, if somebody has a parcel of land that's even 600 feet away from the closest utility, it'll drive them away from wanting to buy that piece of land, and it'll sit there forever because it's too expensive to hook in. And so really trying to work with our utility to find a way to make it affordable to develop land would be the first answer. And then second, look into other communities like Homer that also have a housing shortage. I mean, we have a huge generation of people coming in right now. We've got to figure this out. From 3rd Avenue over to the mountains, all the way from Ocean to out of town, it's all R1, single-family residence. And I actually was thinking today in my solution, one of the many solutions that I thought of today is, sure, make it so that somebody has to live on each plot year-round, so they're contributing to our economy year-round. But why not allow people to have a detached income? What's so wrong about letting people make money from their homes? I don't see the problem. And I live in R1, and I chose to live in R1. And we have another generation coming in that wants to walk to work. They want to be efficient, and we need to share the land. So that's my solution.
Thank you. Ms. Towsley?
I agree that I also live in R1, but I live on the other end of 2nd Avenue, and I have an interesting situation in that it's urban residential across the street, and then auto commercial on the back of my block. And I think that that is going to be representative of where we go if we can plan and move forward and develop the land responsibly. And I felt badly for a couple of businesses that tried to go through planning and zoning. They followed the rules, went through planning and zoning, and tried to get rezoned recently. And there was another group of citizens that felt like that wasn't fair to put another swath of overnight or nightly rentals in the middle of where we wish we had more residential long-term rentals. And both sides, one side was just trying to follow the rules and start their business and do what they wanted to do and make money. And the other side was frustrated for good reason, because that is a problem here. And I felt badly for that situation having come about and kind of the anger in it. And I feel that one of the ways that we can solve that is having these creative solutions. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We're not the only little town in Alaska dealing with some of these crunches. And welcoming, diversity into our neighborhoods and how our neighbors want to develop their properties so that we can have both sides of that coin, both year-round, long-term rentals, and then if people want to develop their properties to do short-term rentals, that as well.
Thank you. Mr. Slater?
This one's a big one for me just because I've been dealing with the housing shortage in Seward for several years now. We're fortunate enough to have housing out at the Windsong Lodge. Took care of a lot of our seasonal staff that came in. However, moving into town now, it's so much harder to get staff to come and live in Seward. It's tough to get somebody to find a place to rent year-round, even, who wants to live here year-round. So, other than the ideas that I've always had is just incentives to develop people who have land even outside city limits. There's tons of people with land out there that can build something that people can come and live on. I think getting the community involved on what we can do even more, get people's ideas, collaborate more. What they want to see, what they don't want to see is important. It's a huge crisis, and I think it's going to take a lot of it soon, really soon.
Oh, my apologies.
That's good. Thank you. So I have this all the time. People ask me, where can I rent? Where's rent at this year? A bunch of new rental units coming into the city of Seward, which is great. City, but it was good to see that a few more of them showed up there too. We had a crisis. Well, I won't say we have a crisis, but we had questions about senior housing. We're on a good step for that. Maybe that needs maybe go a little further, but it's a good start right now. We got some senior housing coming in. But I had somebody in Juneau a couple of years ago tell me, why would I want to move to Seward? There's no land in Seward. Well, that's kind of a misconception also that other people have, that, we're in this valley, we don't have anywhere to develop. Well, we're in a bigger valley than Juneau, and so we do have lots of other room there too. Maybe this is something where we can work with as a city or as an area too, to advertise. Maybe we can come together with developers and contractors together, find out why. Why can't we build here? What's your shortfalls? What's happening? Why can't we get this thing going? It's a meeting I've tried to kind of get together there too. But one thing we also do have to make sure of is that when we do this, and as we work, on the housing thing, that we don't overdevelop, and which is a lot of other places have done this, where they build too much and then they get too much infrastructure there too.
Thank you. All right. This time, we'll start with Ms. Casagranda. In this climate of declining state revenue, how do you see the city coping with less revenue to complete projects?
I see that administration, especially our CEO, has done a fantastic job of being proactive rather than reactive over the last, how long have our utilities been creeping up? 5 to 7 years. Chris Urshinger, who's our CEO, is very, very active in the state and with accounting and being aware of the weather and the forecast of our state and the economy. So, as council members, we knew why we were increasing the utilities years back, because we had the knowledge of saying the funds aren't always going to be there. We're not always going to have the revenues to be able to replace and support our infrastructure, so we need to start saving now. And there were some departments that didn't have MERF funds, which are maintenance, replacements, and repair funds, that we have even actually created over the last couple years. So as a citizen of Seward, on one hand, I do want to complain when my utility bill comes and I'm like, darn it, it's even higher this time. But on the other hand, I know that it is for the security and the future of having infrastructure that the state may no longer help support us in. And so it helps swallow that bill.
Thank you. Ms. Towsley?
Oh, I'm next. Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure. In this climate of declining state revenue, how do you see the city coping with less revenue to complete projects?
How do I see, let's see. We have to be creative, the way that we solve problems. We're going to, the days of $150 oil are gone. And as a state and as a city, we're not going to be getting the earmarks anymore from the feds. And it's just the reality of the situation we lived in. When my personal household income dropped, I canceled the cable. We figured out and prioritized. There's that. And I am hopeful that the state will fast track and moderately tax and reasonably regulate marijuana in the state as quickly as possible to help raise some much needed revenue on that front as well.
Thank you. Mr. Slater?
I agree with Susie on the marijuana. I think that's going to bring in a lot of revenue and make up a big difference where we don't have to increase a lot of the electric bills and whatnot. I think that's going to be huge for the state and Seward if we tackle it right. And it gets regulated fast track, like she said. It's been proven in other cities. It's happening in Washington State and Colorado, and it's helping a lot of communities there. And I believe that we can benefit from that a lot.
Thank you. Mr. Butts?
Well, there again, too, this I'm a firm believer in trying to get a little bit more of self-sufficient from the state. Governor Walker, he's doing a bang-up job, but he's really having a tough job there to deal with less and less revenue, and then it's trickling down, and it's coming down to us, and it's happening with us here too. We need to look at things there again. What our foundations? We need to improve our port, which we're the only deep ice-free port in North America that this far north there too that's hooked into the road and the rail system. I mean, that is a huge plus for us. We were considered a long time. I still think of us as the gateway to Alaska. We still have all of that stuff here too. We need to build on that. We need to build on our airport. We need to upgrade our airport. We need to have flights in and out of our airport. These are things that we need as base structure here in the city to be able to build and build and build. That way we become a little bit more self-sufficient. Marijuana is a good thing there too. We saw as a city council there too as that we didn't want to place any new regulations or anything else on marijuana that has already been placed by the state or the borough or anybody else there too. So these are some things that we have to look at as a core, not only of, well, we're going to deal with less money, but how we can generate more money, how we can generate more revenue here too. The expansion in the SMIC area is a great thing there too, and we're working and working. And I think we're building on this, and I think we need to continue. What we've had for years is a really good relationship with businesses, trying not to step in their way, to allow the businesses to come in, lease property, trying to expand their property that they have, especially in the SMIC area. That's really, really changed over there too, and I'm really, really happy to see that. But I think these are some things that we need to continue on to build our infrastructure that we have here.
Thank you. Ms. Kyle?
Well, it's not only, declining from the state, it's also declining from the federal government. But, we have lobbyists in Juneau and we have lobbyists in Washington, D.C. Just by making a few phone calls to our lobbyists in Washington, D.C., we got $1.4 million towards some of the emergency repairs for our transmission line. If our transmission line goes out, then we have to go on generation power. And right now, I think diesel is $2.84 a gallon. So you can imagine how much money that would be being out of service for a month or 2 months. I think that we have to always, well, we've been keeping an eye on the budget. We are looking at trying to balance what we can do and what we can't do. We've been keeping eyes, I mean, and Councilmember Casagrande has been good at, pointing out different places where, maybe not expend so much money in certain areas. I agree with everybody up here. I think they all had good ideas, and what I'd like to see is people come out during the budget work sessions and actually give us information, give us your feedback, because if we don't know what the problem is, we can't fix it. So just join us. I think our biennial things are coming up here shortly, and next year we'll go into the full-blown 2-year budget process.
Thank you. Ms. Casagrande? No, you started. That's right. Okay, this next question will be Ms. Towsley.
Oh, okay. Not put my glasses back on because did not go well.
What is your position on the road bond issue?
It is undeniable that the roads inside city limits need attention. I don't know if I'm going to vote for it or not, because I think that there was between $1.9 and $2.5 million that was set aside from the Department of Transportation 5 or 6 years ago to help address this problem, and it didn't get done for whatever reason, and I'm not really sure why. I need to look into it more. You definitely need to do something about the roads, for sure. I mean, town, and you want to see a nice little town, you can drive down the street without losing your transmission on Monroe. So I can't really say whether or not I'm going to vote for the bond issue because I haven't read it completely yet, so I know I need to. But I am curious about what happened to the money that we did have earmarked from the DOT. But I think it was probably one of those bureaucratic things where, we had people change within administration and council changed, and I believe that money got shifted. So I'm going to read it, I'm going to decide what I think, and if I think it's best for the city of Seward, then I will vote yes on it. But that's my answer.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Slater?
I have not read anything on the road bond either. It's been a busy summer. And I've not really read up on a lot of issues. However, the roads need to be fixed, and I would love to read it as well, but I'm not familiar with it. So.
Mr. Butts.
There again, another great question here too. A couple of months ago, I took a drive around Seward, and I spent pretty much almost 2 hours. I drove every street that I could, and I could not find one that didn't need help. I drove all over the place. My grandson was with me. I had a blast. So as I looked at this there too, I like this issue. In fact, I love this issue of having a bond to fix these roads. We have the plan that we have in place right now, and you can see it. I believe it's on the city website for the paving that we have planned for right now too. But this is going to go beyond that, and this is going to be able to fix a lot of the other places that may have not got planned. In that plan to be able to get fixed. And so I'm a firm believer in this. I'm a firm believer in these types of things, that when we have an issue, especially something like this, or it's roads or sewer or electric lines or something like this, where we can look at it and say, look, we need to pay for this right now, and we need to get this done right now, but we're going to pay it off over time. And we have the ability to be able to do that. And we have a really good finance department. They're really good about going out and repurposing these bonds too, and getting really good deals over the years too. So if you guys have, I'm going to say it, please go out, vote for that bond. It is one thing that's really going to help Seward, and especially in the long run, and we can get a lot of more roads fixed.
Okay. Well, I'm going to come out in support of the road bond myself. The $2.5 million that we had got swept away somewhere in the ether world of state government, or wherever it went. And so there was a couple of us that were very persistent about hounding administration to find that money because we knew we had it. And when we were back in Washington, D.C. this last time, our lobbyists identified approximately $500,000 sort of orphan earmark. And so we're applying that also to our roads. But the bond basically is actually, we're leveraging our money because we're going to be able to do the roads to the dump. We're going to be able to do the roads to Mountain Haven and more roads. And pretty much, we'll be taking care of our community. And then maybe another 30 years we won't have, we'll back to fixing potholes, but right now we're going to have pretty good streets. I just forgot to say something, though, too, during that whole thing about, state declining funding. The governor's proposing a 3% sales tax, too. That would mean Seward has a 10% sales tax. So I'm hoping the public, will, get out and voice their opinions on that, because I think we would be the highest in this state.
Thank you. Ms. Casagrande?
So this question actually has me thinking, because I voted to bring the bond to the voters. But the question is, how are we going to pay for it? So I would like to, we just passed $750 for voter education. And I would hope that in the voter education, the voters are aware that, it's not like we're just going to, and maybe we are. This is a question I would have at a council meeting. Are we going to vote for these bonds and then figure out how to pay for them later? Or is the money sitting there and we're voting for these bonds because we already have the money? On my part. But it's a good question, and so that's where I stand at this point.
Okay. Thank you. At this point, since I already gave Mr. Slater one first round question, we'll go back to the beginning. We'll go through again. So this question is to you, Mr. Butts. Since sales tax all goes to the schools, and the Kenai Peninsula Borough has the lowest tax cap in the state, do you support the sales tax ordinance on the ballot?
That's a tough one because, like Brian was mentioning too, we already have a tax base here too, and we already have that sales tax that we have. I'm in support of an income tax for the state, is what I am for. But if we look at this, I'm hoping that with the governor's proposal that happens, if he does propose and does try to push forward a sales tax, that there be some kind of exclusion for places that already have a high sales tax, and so that might be able to help us out there too. But I think as we look at all of this here too, we've got to look at this as a bigger picture than just our school and everything. We have the citizens of Seward, and they have a tax rate, and we have people outside of the city limits, they have a tax rate too. If we can kind of work this together there again too, we've got to pull this together. It's not just a Seward issue, and that's the biggest thing that I'm worried about here too. And it's not just an out-of-town issue. It's all the way down the line, all the way out to Moose Pass. It's an issue there too that we're going to have to be dealing with. And so I'm a big supporter of an income tax rather than a sales tax.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Kyle?
Okay, I haven't read that particular issue yet, and so my general feeling is that we need good schools here and enough subjects to keep people interested. So I support something that gives more money to the schools, and I don't support something that takes monies away from the schools. But I will read up on that. So.
All right, thank you. Ms. Casagrande?
Being a mother of 3 school-age children, as long as I knew the increased sales tax would go directly to the schools, I would pass it for sure, knowing, if we're going to get art back in the schools and we're going to get all the things that have been cut in the recent years. So I don't know exactly how the sales tax, if that was a streamline right in, for sure, without a doubt. On the other hand, I do trust that the committees and the work groups that have been working towards this sales tax cap increase have really looked hard. One of the things that the Borough Assembly representative for Seward, Brandy, had stated to council is that, for example, if somebody is paying rent, the sales cap would stay at $500. So it's not like, these younger generation and children that are now renting homes and trying to pay for these high costs of living, it won't affect the renting class of people, and that's really positive, and that just kind of sent me in a, knowing that people are really looking at this hard, whereas, if someone sells their home for $300,000, they're paying $35 sales tax on it. So, it's really finding where the cap ends and to what the cap needs to be delegated to. It's not so much, I don't think it's one cap that you can umbrella so many things under. So.
Thank you. Ms. Towsley?
The sales tax going to the schools, that's the question, right?
Do you support the sales tax ordinance on the ballot?
I have not read the sales tax ordinance on the ballot, but from what I understand of it, yes, I would probably support it. I am hesitant to say I support any new tax because I have rarely in my 41 years on this planet seen a tax be repealed. However, there's a lot of income, as Councilmember made clear, there's a lot of income in the state that leaves the state, that lives out of state or lives out of country, and a very low income tax is another way to bring revenue to the state. Whilst, I'm going to beat my little hippie girl drum again and say, Colorado totally 100% funded education with $996 million worth of taxes from marijuana. And Washington State is past $1 billion this year. So I think there's a lot of ways that we can creatively solve the problem of being short with money, but yeah, I would vote for it.
Thank you. Mr. Slater?
Watching the schools the last few years, some of the things like art and music especially being taken away was a huge loss for us. 1 year, Rowan, the music class, they made instruments, which I thought was interesting. It wasn't really music class. But I thought, I think that, I agree with Riss. I think if it goes straight to the schools, yeah, it'd be a tough one to swallow, but yeah, we got to invest in the schools. We got to invest in those guys. I don't think it would go straight there, though. That's the problem I have with it. So, yeah, we'd have to really read that and look at it and make sure it was doing that before I vote yes on that. So.
All right. Thank you. Next question is to Ms. Kyle. Two people had a similar question, so I'm going to combine them. What is the best way to communicate with you? And as a potential representative of our community, how do you plan to listen to the community?
Well, I'm available. Our information is all available on the city website, so people can call us or email. We all have basically the same kind of email address, which would be mkyle@cityofseward.net or dbutts@cityofseward.net or rcasagrande@city.net. So, that we're always available, but sometimes our email falls into the ether world, and it just drives me insane. So somebody will get the email, like everybody got an invitation to AvTech. The reception yesterday never came through on mine. So I don't know, how to fix that, but you can call me anytime. Stop me at the grocery store. I get stopped a lot at the grocery store, or stop me at the post office, I think I'm approachable, but I think sometimes people think I'm scary, and and I don't feel like I'm scary, but come on, just give me a call. I'm cool with being stopped anywhere. So.
Thank you. Ms. Casagrande?
I personally get moved and really, really filled up when people show up to meetings. That is definitely a place where I listen the best. My cell phone is on the website, like Mariana had mentioned, but it is my cell phone. And I do work a lot. I'm always available by cell phone. I have to admit, my city email address is like once or twice a week that I check it, because I have a lot of other email addresses that I have to check on a daily basis. So I would say, the best way is to call my cell phone or to come to a meeting. And it's all about the people. I'm here to represent the people. So what I'm told, I will do. So, yeah.
All right, Ms. Towsley?
I guess I'm pretty easy to find. I know a lot of people, and have even had people approach me that are, so-and-so said to come look for you and talk with you about whatever. My cell phone would probably be the easiest way to either text or call me. And years ago, before I ever even imagined I'd run for city office, I got the email address Seward Sues. So SewardSues@yahoo.com, and I'm all about answering emails. When I try to explain that to people that don't understand that Seward is the town I live in, they think it's Seward's Ooze. But I just make myself available to the
Thank you. Mr. Slater?
Summer times, just come down to the brewery, we'll have a beer, we'll talk about stuff. That's really the best way I think to do it. So, yeah, I think that's a good way to talk about things, have a beer over it. And then in the wintertime, by cell phone, email, I wouldn't trust the city emails because I've emailed the city people before and I never hear back. So I would just use my SewardBrewing.com email or my Gmail. It's really easy to get hold of me. I have my phone on me all the time. So.
All right, thank you. Mr. Butts?
491-1049. I've had the same number for 15 years. So if you have something, call me. I love it when people call me. I had a good long discussion today on the phone. If I do have a job, I admit, I do have a job and I do have a family life, but if I have a chance, I'll answer it. And I'd love to hear people's... the concern comes because what I have to consider is every time somebody calls me, I kind of look at that as like there's 10 more people that haven't called me yet. And so I kind of equate each phone call I get to about 10 people at least. So when I love to be able to hear this there too. So sometimes I get phone calls and I have no idea what they're talking about because I haven't heard about the issue yet. But sometimes people will call me and I can discuss it as best as I can, as best as I know. I'm not privy to all the information that happens there too, but I'll discuss as much as I possibly can with you. But also people, when they call, you also have to understand that as a city councilman, I have no more pull with the city itself than any one of you. So I can't go into the city offices as you have to do this. But as a body, I can then take that back to a group of people, and as a body, as a council, now we can make something. We can tell the city manager, we want you to do this or do this. But that's where you can voice to me, and then I can voice it during work sessions, during meetings, things like this, is where we can then bring up those issues. So please call me. If I have the chance, I will pick up the phone and I'll talk to you.
Thank you. This question is to Ms. Casagrande. And I wanted to say at about 7:15, we will be ending questions to go on to our closing remarks. Each candidate has about 3 minutes. Ms. Casagrande, what do you think would be the ideal solution to the current AvTech gym situation?
Without seeing what administration can see, I can't honestly say what the perfect solution would be because we've never seen numbers. We don't know usage. All I know at this point is that the public wants the use of AvTech. So it's really a hard question to answer. I think what would be ideal is to have it exactly as it always has been. And with the healthcare that we have, 1% of our sales tax goes towards healthcare. And I really strongly feel and believe so strongly in preventative healthcare. And I think that recreation is healthcare, personally. And so I personally would like to see that money being delegated towards, something or anything that prevents people from getting to the reactive stage of the health and keeping everybody in a proactive state of health.
Okay. Ms. Towsley?
The AvTech gym issue is, for me, a clear quality of life one. It was a service that a lot of people in town used. It was very important to the people in town, and we saw that loud and clear this summer. In a perfect world, Bill Gates would show up and just fund it and build a new gym, but we don't live in that world. I will say that over the last last year and the year before, there have been expenses, there's been money spent on things that, would easily have covered the costs that I've heard. Again, we don't know those exact numbers because apparently it's being negotiated. But for instance, the tens of thousands of dollars that was paid to do code compliance for people's weeds and yards and right-of-ways could have made up the gap, just spitballing there. But it would be nice to see that prioritized by both administration and council because it's clearly very important to people that live here.
Thank you. Mr. Slater?
Can you repeat the question again, please?
Sure. What do you think would be the ideal solution to the current AvTech gym situation?
The ideal solution is to get it open the way it was again. Plain and simple. It should have never gotten this far. It should have been more transparent with the public and what was going on. I think we need to make it right. Plain and simple. It needs to open back up to the public. It's so important to the mental health of the people in this town in the wintertime, and to the kids that access it. It's a huge part of the Seward, and it should have never gotten this far. We just need to get back open.
Thank you. Mr. Butts?
Well, I have to tread lightly with this one because I've worked at AvTech for 13 years now, and so I have to kind of make sure that I'm on both sides of this thing.
Recuse yourself.
But what I can say is, though, is with this right now is the AvTech opportunity, and I say opportunity because now this is our opportunity to go back with AvTech from the city and not only just bring it back to where we were. Let's make it a little better. Let's try and expand the services that we have with AvTech. Let's expand the relationship that we have with AvTech. If it's a budget issue, that's what the city council can help with. I'm not happy because unfortunately we did have a delay in services for a while, and so I'm hoping that this is going to come back, and when we get this all back going there too, it's going to be better than ever, and that's what I'm hoping for too. So as a city councilman, I'm hoping that we can then make this whole thing happen. But sometimes due process and things like this kind of take a little bit longer, and I really feel that was a little unfortunate in this case too.
Thank you. Ms. Kyle?
Well, it was something that was sort of dumped on us by administration. Council really wasn't aware that it was going to happen. So, we were all sort of taken aback. But now that the negotiations have restarted with AvTech, they have restarted, and I've had it on good say that, there was a really good discussion today and a really good negotiation and progress is being made. So AvTech is the place that people are going to be able to go back to. People talked about compromise, and we may have to compromise on some services. Compromise is not a bad thing. It may not be exactly what it was like before, but I think we're going to get a lot of the services that we need. AvTech is also looking for efficiencies because they have budget cuts. We're looking for efficiencies too because we know we're going to get some more trickle down from the state. So and that's I just know that we're going to be able to have a lot of the services that we had, and I just want to assure people I hope that you won't be so anxious anymore about it. I think it's really going in a good direction.
Thank you. Ms. Casagrande? You did? Sure. All right.
You're good.
Next question to Ms. Towsley. Do you support continuing the city's allocation of funds from the 1% of sales tax that goes to healthcare in this community to the Seward Community Health Center? And what else do you believe should be done to improve health in the community?
I believe that administration should get a clear call from council to reopen the AvTech gym because that is a big part of how people stay active here in the wintertime. And yes, the 1% that goes to the CHC, that has been pretty successful. It looks like that's working for people. There's doctors that are making this their home again. It was a little shaky a couple of 3-5 years ago. But yeah, I support the 1%, and I think that we just have to prioritize where we're going to be spending our money. And when citizens are taking action and taking time on a beautiful day to come in listen to us and go to city council meetings, then you know they're engaged or they're ticked off about something because the gym got closed. So they make it clear, this is a place where you got to listen to people, especially on city council.
Thank you. Mr. Slater?
Repeat the question.
Sure. Do you support this continuing the city's allocation of funds from the 1% sales tax that goes to healthcare in this community to the Seward Community Health Center? And then what else do you believe should be done to improve health in the community?
I do support the 1%. I think it's good to invest in the healthcare in this town, especially. To improve health in this town, we need to bulk up Parks and Rec. We need to get more activities involved in there. Let's get the APTEC gym going. We need more programs. I think that's huge. We need to get that department a little bit more involved in getting everybody together. More runs, more this, more that. We just need to, I think that's important for everybody, summertime and wintertime especially.
Thank you. Mr. Butts?
I really like the 1% sales tax that we have because we've been able to show that over the years or two that the 1% sales tax is dedicated to the health of the people of Seward and also to the surrounding people too here that we have this. But as we look at this here too, we have a really good hospital. We have a really good, and especially a really good relationship with the community health center that's just now, budding and growing like crazy. And it's really great to be able to have that. But the 1% also sales tax too, just to make sure we're clear, not just for the community health center too. It's for the health care of the citizens of Seward. So we have this money out there too for lots of other different programs that it goes to, mental health programs, different things like this here too. So I really do support this. I don't know if there's ever going to be a time where we would get rid of the 1% sales tax because with the hospital now, it's changing things at this. We're not putting as much money into the hospital, so we actually have kind of that savings there that's going on. The bond was all paid off and everything. So anyway, we have this now where we can actually take some of these funds now and work them in different areas too. And they're, again, making sure that the citizens of Seward are healthy, that we've got a good facility here to be able to deal with anything that we need to.
Thank you. Mrs. Scott?
Okay, I had a short stint on council back 95, 96, and that's when we built we built Providence. And that 1% then was going towards the payment of the building, the bonds on the building. I was early on part of, developing the CHC because I was like a member of the CHC board. I found that it's really important to have good health facilities here because we need to be able to, treat people in our community. We need to be able to, have different kind of health situations be dealt with. I know part of the Providence deal is as a critical access hospital, so a lot of it is emergency, and then, but our CHC is the one that deals with preventative medicine, and it deals with dealing with, different things in the community. And they are starting to get more services. I know that they invited, there's a podiatrist coming over. There's just different things that they are going to offer as, additional services. So I absolutely support the 1% for, the CHC and medical needs for our community.
Thank you. Ms. Cascanda?
I kind of already answered this in the last question, but the 1% is still after how many years? 6 years on council. It still is confusing to me. The different things that we're paying for towards healthcare, we have Seward, Mountain Haven, Providence, and now the CHC. And the CHC came before council saying that they were on a short-term plan of needing our 1% assistance before they were going to be an independent, self-sufficient running entity. And so because that was what we were told, that is what I would assume would happen in the future. 1% of our sales tax is a lot of money, and I am all about, as I stated earlier, preventative health. And, there's a lot of reasons why people need to be treated and have treatment and access here. But, I think there's also a lot of room to grow on preventative health. I think it's the way of the future. I think it's where we're evolving. And there's a lot of money there that we can do all kinds of things to keep our community strong and healthy. We live in a dark place. We need things to keep us healthy.
Thank you. So we have about 7 more minutes. We'll try to get to as many questions as we can. We may not get to all of them.
We have a lightning round.
30 seconds. Try it.
So this question will be starting with Mr. Slater. Tell me about your relationship with alcohol. How do you plan for Seward, especially the youth, to have more wisdom in their choices about it? And do you believe the city government has a role in that?
Well, my role, obviously, is I run a brewery. My wife also teaches the TAPS class for CHAR, so alcohol management, alcohol for all the servers, all the restaurant workers that work in the industry. We're pretty responsible in the way we handle it all. It's a large monster to wrangle there at the brewery, but I think the city can do some things. I'm not sure what really, but I don't see a lot of minor consumption. I don't see a lot of that. I don't see a lot of people coming in with fake IDs as much as I used to when Seward was the party place. It's pretty cracked down now. I don't see a huge problem with it as I once did. So.
Thank you. Mr. Butts?
Like I mentioned before, too, I think the other thing that we have to look at here, too, is what else do kids have to do? Back in 1995, I noticed it up at the high school, there was no football team. So I got together with a couple of the coaches there. We put together and we started the football team, which has still been a great success. Yeah, they just won last weekend. So games tomorrow, by the way, too. So trying to find more and more things that the kids can do. There again, finding things in school, finding other things like this. But also then now being able to, there again, try to incentivize some type of company to come in with something more, a movie theater, something else like this or two, to be able to get kids to have something else to do. Because that is one thing I hear from so many people. My kids don't have anything else to do. Going back to the AbTech gym, that's something for the kids to do. Her back to the league. I mean, I love that. It's been there for so long. All these things that we have to look at, we need to find and we need to have stuff for kids to do in town. The teen center is great. I love the teen center. It is a great service there too. But we can maybe expand on something else like this or two and have something. There again, if you have ideas, call me, throw them at me. That's all churned up and hopefully come out with some really good ideas of how to make this all work.
Services, they do handle, a lot of, problem drinking or, I used to work for the Alcohol Safety Action Program. The DUI people would get sent to me and I'd have to, either the new people that have the ASAP, there's a lot less DUIs coming through. I think because there's been a crackdown, that's a good thing. So yeah, parental responsibility is to talk to your kids about their use of, a lot of, there's a lot of information there for kids too.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Casagrande?
I too I think alcohol is no different than anything else. Anything can become a drug and we can abuse anything, whether it be food, a partner, the list goes on and on and on. And so do I think it's government's position to get involved with alcohol? Probably not. Do I think it's us as community members to be our very best selves every day and be a role model for our youth to show them what it looks like to be an independent, non-codependent person? Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Tasley?
I also have a relationship with alcohol. On this one, I feel like there's some fear and demonization that goes on with just people living their lives, and on that side, I guess I'm a little more libertarian that, live and let live, moderation in all things. They've done studies where they found that places where marijuana has been legalized, alcohol abuse among teenagers has gone down. So there's that. we have a nationwide opioid epidemic going on, and that is scary to me. And what do I think the city can do about alcohol use, or to make better, encourage children to make better, wiser choices? I guess it's out on the front end of it, but from what I'm hearing about the local police department, is that they are more community policing these days. They're downtown talking to business owners. They're, visiting with people on the street, and less punitive, or they're more proactive than they are reactive these days, from what I'm hearing, which is great, and that means, we have less DUIs and everybody gets along better. And in my experience, a glass of wine is great every now and again.
Thank you. So I'm looking at the clock, about 7:15. So 5 candidates, that's 3 minutes each, about 15 minutes, so we should wrap up right about on time. We'll do our concluding remarks. And since we started with Mr. Butts, we can start with Mr. Slater and go the other direction.
I didn't really prepare too much for closing. I didn't know what to expect for this whole thing, so this was really enjoyable. I really admire the council members that have been seated here. I'm not looking to replace them as going after them. I don't have an agenda. I just want to be a voice for a lot of people that I know in the community that don't have one, or are afraid to speak up because they either work for certain parts of the city or they can't, or whatnot. I've heard a lot of concern over the last couple of years, and I felt like I could be somebody who could step up for them and be not just for me, but for the community as a council member. So I thank you guys for showing up tonight.
Thank you.
My closing remarks, I did not prepare closing remarks either. So I've had people ask me, who are you trying to unseat? Who are you trying to get out there? And I have the same attitude. And it's really, this is hard. This is challenging. People say, run for council, get your paperwork in, it'll be, This is, when people step up and do this, I totally admire that you guys have been doing it for as long as you have, and I didn't want to unseat anybody or was not trying to get anybody out of a specific seat. I do want to be part of how I think the City of Seward is going to move forward. I'm very proud to be able to say that I've been endorsed by the local Longshoremen's Union, Unit 60 here in Seward. The railroad is redoing their port here in the next couple of years. That's moving forward with that plan. I agree that the port here can improve. We can move more stuff through here, more freight through here, more people through here, jobs, if we can find housing for people, all great stuff for Seward. The same things that brought the Boulain brothers here and the Lowell family, and 112 years ago, are all still true. Northernmost ice-free port year-round in the Pacific. And with what's going on with the weather, with our climate change, whether or not you believe that's happening, the Northwest Passage is open, and that's going to change the amount of ships and people that we have coming through this part of the world, and we need to be on the forefront of making sure that our town benefits from it as much as we can in a responsible way, that, we're the same little town that we love to be in. Quality of life issues are huge. People want to be here for a reason, because it's a great place to live, and I agree with that. I'd like to see more accountability, more transparency between both administration and council, and I understand the way that it works. And thanks again for coming tonight. It's a beautiful day to be trapped inside here for a couple of hours.
Thank you. Ms. Casagrande?
I did prepare my closing statement. First, I'd like to thank the high school students that are here volunteering. I didn't get to do that in my opening statement, and it's really awesome to see youth involved in witnessing this whole process, because I'm super nervous and glad you get to watch them. So, my closing statement goes like this. I am grateful that I have the opportunity of serving on council for the past 6 years. I've learned a lot and often find myself that I have a lot more to learn. I'm driven by community, and it brings me much joy to see members of the community show up at meetings and run for seats in city council and commissions. Without volunteers representatives, advocates, and pride, and the people that really, truly care, there is no community. I feel it is extremely important that when someone steps forward, they are witnessed and they are heard. Council is a body that sets policy and creates the budget. Each one of us are voted in by our constituents, and we are here to represent as a body. The resolutions and budget that administration brings before council are only a suggestion. It is up to the public to weigh in in just a few ways. Go Hillary Clinton. Sorry. Sorry. Showing up to meetings and speaking or calling or writing council members with suggestions, or just to name a few. With the public involvement, council can ultimately make the suggested changes and pass resolutions and budgets that are part of the public process for the people. Seward is facing some major changes. Climate change and increasing populations are real. I feel Seward can grow to accommodate our next generations and our changing climate as long as we remain proactive. We have a lot of work ahead of us. I feel it will be important to encourage community participation in finding solutions, and with this being the beginning of our comprehensive plan, the door is wide open. My focus over the next 2 years will be keeping our infrastructure healthy as a #1 priority, addressing the housing needs, looking to small businesses to find ways to encourage growth, and continuing to encourage citizens to use their voice in helping us all find solutions to the challenges we face as the needs of our community increase. If I am elected, I will continue to ask questions, I will continue to listen, and I will continue to be a citizen that represents the community of Seward.
Thank you. Ms. Kyle?
Okay, so, I remember one of my proudest moments, I think, was when we got the senior housing through. And I stood up for a position that 90% of the public didn't agree with. But I know Mr. Slater didn't agree with but we listened to that. Yep. And what it did was bring forward a new site for that. And we are now in the process of actually getting it. But people weren't even aware that those people had been for 15 years trying to get housing. I've been involved with the community health center. We've done the replacement of floats. We did a travel lift. We are working on funding for the seawater heat loop. We completed the electrical generation. We maintained and repaired the sewer lagoons. We got a new water tank. Repaving starts in 2017. We have repairs starting in this winter for $2.3 million, a commitment, and we have a commitment by the Corps of Engineers to do a study which would look for a long-term fix. The Seward Marine Industrial Breakwater started, and we have utility hookups going. Every year, we're budgeting monies to fix sidewalks. We're getting, so I talked about senior housing, and we've done balanced budgets. So, I'm just hoping that you give me an opportunity to be able to continue on and get some of the other projects that we started completed. I know I've been on there a long time, and, it always says kick the bums out kind of deal. But, I really think that I try to be effective. I try to get things done, and I do try to work for the community. So I just thank you for letting me serve as long as I have, and if you decide to retire me, I'll probably be thankful.
I don't have to speak for all the rest of the time, do I?
Yeah, that's you. You can do it.
I'd be happy. Anyway, I want to start off with, again, also thanking everybody who's not only showed up here with great questions, also everybody here to help put this on there, too, with the chamber and everybody. This is great to help kind of get this thing kind of rolling here, too, as we roll ourselves into October. Just want to reiterate to everybody, like I said, I've been on the city council for 3 years, and I'm still having a ball. I still like it. I still have fun doing it. I'm still learning, too, and there's a lot of things I'm learning. And I realize, too, that I can't please everybody all the time, but I'm going to try my best with this one. So if you have a concern, this is what we're going to try to be able to do, is work those concerns out. Some of the things, one I didn't really get a chance to talk too much about too. One of the things I'm really sick and tired of is suicide rates. And I'm hoping it's something that we can address this year too, with the community health center and CV and all these other different programs that we have there too, of helping to kind of get the word out there too, mentorships, different other things like this that we can do out there too to help kind of slow this process down. It's been terrible for Seward, but. For me and to vote for me, I'll put it like another city councilman said, if you don't like what I'm doing, don't vote for me. But my record, and take a look at the different things I've done. When I was on planning and zoning, we started off with the food vendors, and I was able to work, luckily I was able to work all the way up into the city council, help pass those and create that addition to the code there too. I'm a big proponent. I mean, I really love to push the maritime industry too here, because I teach in it and I work in it and everything else like this. And I'm hoping that we can work with our port and our airport also, but our port to be able to expand our port. There's so many possibilities out there too, with the Arctic developments there too that we're having. All these other different things that are going on there. There's so much room there for us to be able to have an opportunity to get involved with this there too. So sometimes we may need to kind of go in a different direction where people may not agree. We may need to spend some money to be able to get these things here too, but it's going to happen. And please, if you have a concern, if you have an issue, like I say, call me up. That's what I'm there for too. I'll answer it as best I can. Please remember 491-1049.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you to all the candidates and to everybody else who's here. Also want to thank again GCI, Seward High School, and the City of Seward Chamber of Commerce.
Public radio.
And Public Radio, 91.7 KIBH. Yeah, thanks everybody for coming, and that'll conclude it.
Thank you.